Then Valorant was released, there was a lot of confusion and panicking and just misinformation about their anti-cheat Vanguard. And I made a video explaining in detail, in a very simplistic way, so they was actually digestible, so that I didn't just like pull shit out of my ass without explaining it, but at the same time, I didn't explain it in a way that you need a master degree to understand it. What is right? What is Vanguard? How does it affect your PC? What does running something in Ring 0 means? What are the layers on your computer? And all of that. And that's a video that I'm very, very proud of. And if you haven't watched that, then I will link it down in the description, because this is an update to that situation. This is an update to how is Vanguard doing so far, what has the changes been to the anti-cheat, and on top of that, even more importantly, I will answer some of the questions, because there was a lot of questions and miscommunication and just a bunch of stuff in the comments that I feel is very, very worth addressing. Hello, beautiful and lovely gamers. As always, my name is Jonal. Of course, like on the video helps a great deal out. Same goes for a comment, helps spread around the video. And that's important for me because, as I said in the first video that I made about 6 months back, it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree, if you want to keep or install Valorant and use Vanguard, or if you don't want to. That is an individual choice that you need to make about what you feel is safe for your computer and for yourself as a consumer. But having the information at hand and understanding what you're doing to make an accurate decision, I think is the important part. I always give my opinion in these type of videos, what I feel, but I'm not telling other people to mimic me. I have my life and my trust and my security understanding and just my setup and how I want to do stuff. And if you don't want to do that, then that's completely okay. If you want to do that, that's also okay. And I don't think that's the important part. So liking and commenting help spread around the video, help inform people. And then if you could subscribe to the channel, it would be amazing. We have 2 months to hit 20,000 subscribers. Would be an absolute dream. We need like 500 more people to do that, to just hit that goal in 2020. Would make my year a little bit better. So thank you so much for that. Now let's talk about Vanguard. So there was a lot of essentially, let's say it like this. To sum up what the previous video was about, which you should watch because I explained so much better in that video without spending too much time here. Vanguard is running on Ring 0 of your kernel mode, essentially can do whatever the fuck it wants on your computer. And that was something that a lot of people was confused about because it would run on boot. So essentially when you turn on your computer, which is called the boot up sequence because you use the bootloader to do so. So when you turn on your computer, Vanguard starts immediately. It's the same like Discord. Your Discord opens almost immediately, right? When you start, or if you had Skype before, Skype always do that, right? There's a bunch of programs that starts at the beginning of your computer. For example, for me, my Razer software does, my Logitech mouse software does, Discord, whatever, right? A bunch of software that starts on boot, on startup. And Vanguard's anti-cheat did the same, meaning from the beginning, you had an anti-cheat monitoring your PC. That's what an anti-cheat does. They monitor your PC and look for illegal, whatever that's called, weird stuff that's going on inside your computer. I can't speak today. They look for all these kind of like small details and what's going on in your computer to try to detect a cheat or something similar, something manipulating your memory. I will link to a video down below talking a little bit about how cheats work in games like Valorant. That's also a great video that I'm very proud of. So I will link that down if you're more interested in how cheats are created. But the point is that you have Vanguard, it runs and monitors your computer at the lowest level, so with the most privileges from the beginning. And a lot of people thought that was very scary, and that's what I want to address. First of all, now you can turn off Vanguard. If you go down into your system tray, which is if you play on Windows, which I assume most people do, bottom right past your clock and whatever your keyboard and language setting of your computer are, there is an arrow. If you click there, you can see all the small tasks that is running, and there you will find Vanguard. You can right click on it, and then you can say exit Vanguard. Now, if you do so, you're turning off the anti-cheat, and you will have to restart your computer so Vanguard is turned on again. That is just how that anti-cheat works. Essentially, their logic is, because if you create a cheat, what a lot of cheat makers can do, and what makes it easier for a cheat maker to do, is to load the cheat before the game starts. That way you're already kind of loading stuff into memory and setting up so you can do changes to certain areas. Essentially, you're claiming space inside your memory of your computer. And if an anti-cheat starts after that, they don't know that the cheat was already loaded into memory. Because what they see is just, oh, there's a bunch of programs running, we don't know what this is, it's a bunch of ones and zeros, but they were here when we came, so it's probably fine. But then there's other ways to detect the cheat, but in very simplistic ways that makes it more difficult for an anti-cheat to find somebody with a hack on them. If you have them from the beginning, they can see when the cheat is loaded into memory. And then they can see when they start running Valorant that this part of the memory is doing weird stuff. That the cheat, the software that has been loaded is doing weird stuff to the memory. And this was loaded past boot. This is not Windows doing operations in the background or anything like that. This is probably a cheat. And that way, their anti-cheat essentially has more information to do an educational guess if, okay, this is probably a hack client, let's ban this guy. Now, there was a bunch of comments on this, because that is the philosophy that the Valorant and Riot is using. That is why Vanguard runs on Ring 0. And let's talk about some of the comments that was made. First of all, it is unnecessary to have an anti-cheat run at Ring 0. This is not true. If you look at most anti-cheats, such as Easy Anti-Cheat, and BattleEye, and all these kind of things. So Apex Legends, Fortnite, PlayerUnknown's Battleground, Rainbow Six Siege, DayZ, Dead by Daylight, all of these have anti-cheats, and all of them run at Ring 0. Because if the cheat runs at Ring 0 and can do a bunch of memory manipulations, then you need another program at Ring 0 to monitor that. If not, then the anti-cheat cannot see what the cheat client is doing to your memory, so they can't detect it. Essentially, you have to guess who is cheating or not. You don't have the information for a program to make an educational decision, or to get diagnostic to a report to a staff member at whatever gaming company to look at the statistic and say, okay, this seems suspicious, let's ban this guy. There's no way of doing any form of intelligence gathering. The anti-cheats cannot make any information if it cannot see the memory, where the cheat is being loaded and where the cheat is doing manipulations. So it is necessary, and this is industry standard. If you play video games, this is something that you have to have. Like that is just how anti-cheats work. Period. There are also stuff like FACEIT and ESAA. If you ever play Counter-Strike, because some people say just play Counter-Strike, they don't have invasive anti-cheats. If you play FACEIT or ESAA, which is essentially if you want to play something that is not ranked and playing what I have understood is more of a serious way of playing Counter-Strike, they have always on anti-cheats, which for some reason a lot of people trust. Even though there was some scandal a way back with some Bitcoin mining with it, that's just how people trust. They trust those. They don't trust Vanguard for some reason. But again, Riot was really nice and listened, and now you can just disable it. So if you are turning on your computer to do your work, or to play League, or play Overwatch, or whatever you want to do, or just watch YouTube or Netflix, and you don't want Vanguard on, you can just turn it off. Then you restart your computer whenever you want to play Valorant. That's essentially what I'm doing. So that's completely fine, and that is just a life. Like, you have to understand that a lot of stuff runs at Ring 0. Your printers run at Ring 0. Your keyboard and mouse run at Ring 0. Most stuff run at Ring 0 if they need stuff like a driver. There's a bunch of stuff you are implicitly trusting when you own a computer. And then we can go into a whole discussion about privacy and so on. And when you're on social media and your phone is sending data to a bunch of companies, and your Google Homes and your Alexas are in your house, and we can talk about all of this kind of stuff in data privacy and consumer privacy and rights and all this kind of stuff. But when it comes to computers, there's no way getting around. Programs run at Ring 0. That is how computers work. And you can yell and scream about it as much as you want, but this is something that most of us have been using for 30 years and even more. And it will always be like that. And anti-cheats has been running on Ring 0 for years and years and years, because that's the only way to detect it. And it might sound scary when you understand this, but that is what is known as implicit trust. You need to trust the people that you download software from. If I don't trust Microsoft, I shouldn't use Windows as my operating system. If I don't trust Razer, I shouldn't use their keyboards, because they have Razer drivers and Razer synapse on them. If I don't trust Riot, I shouldn't play League and Valorant. And so on and so on. You shouldn't download something if you don't trust who is sending it to you. That is the implicit trust of computers. And in IT, trust is a very big thing. Our entire internet security with certificates are built on trust models, and you can check this out if you want. I'll link some links down below and talk a little bit about certificates and how the trust model is there and how scuffed it actually kind of is. Now, number 2, all rootkits are dangerous, therefore Vanguard is dangerous. As I said, when we talk about rootkits, it's normally said as like a malicious version of something running on Ring 0. Running stuff on Ring 0, as I said, is not malicious by default. Your drivers run on Ring 0, your keyboard and mouse run on Ring 0 because they're drivers. They have to run on Ring 0. Most of your input and output devices are in Ring 0 and are running stuff on Ring 0. So that is not how anything works. But yes, if you install a program running on Ring 0, like a cheat for example, then yes, that can be malicious by intent. If somebody wants it to be and he programs something in there. That's also why I found it so funny that, you know, people that are cheating, like somehow, like you go to a cheat website and you trust them to give you a cheat that might run on Ring 0, but he's a cheat maker. Like, he's not like the most trusted guy on the internet, let's say it like that. So I always find it funny that people trust cheat makers to give them software when he is a cheat maker. But whatever. Point number 3. How do you know you can trust Riot? You're just taking their word that they are not spying on you or relaying private information. It seemed like you are talking yourself into this. That's a comment that I got. A lot of it was, I don't trust Riot, I don't trust Tencent. That is individually up to you. That was the point of the video. The point of the video was to give you information so you can make a decision. Do you trust this company? Yes or no? That is up to you. Do you trust Microsoft? Do you trust Facebook? Do you trust Instagram? Right? Do you trust Twitter? Who do you trust? Do you trust your mobile device? Your mobile manufacturer, right? If you have Huawei, you might not trust those. Do you trust Samsung and Apple, right? Like, who do you trust? That is the question. I trust Riot. I have also been in communication after this, as I was in a content creator event, which we didn't get paid for. Essentially, we just got to look at a bunch of early access stuff, like Sky when she was coming out, and Icebox, before anyone else knew it. Content creators and media and so on was invited to like a kind of like a closed off event. I talked to a bunch of the people at Riot. They seem like really nice people. I personally do believe that if Tencent, who owns Riot, but Riot is still a United States based company, they still have headquarters there, they still have developers, it's not a bunch of people in China sitting and programming these things. I would say if they knew that there was anything going on, I would 100% trust that they would say something. There would be whistleblowers all over the fucking place. I really do trust that company personally. If you don't trust it, there's no need to disliking the video or flaming me in the comments. That is a personal choice that I'm making with my privacy. I trust Samsung, that's why I have a Samsung phone. I trust Microsoft, that's why I'm sitting on a Windows machine. Okay? I trust majority of the stuff that I use, I do trust that. I have a Facebook account, which I only use for chatting. But that's about it. But I still have a Facebook account. I could remove it if I didn't trust Facebook enough with the data that they have on me. Point number 4. There will always be cheaters, so why even bother? And that's, in my opinion, the stupidest thing to say. That's like saying there will always be people breaking the law, so why do we even bother stopping them? The point of a anti-cheat that is invasive by default, right? Again, everything runs on Ring 0 anyway. All anti-cheats do that. All major anti-cheats run on Ring 0 anyway. But this runs on boot, like ESAA and Facet's anti-cheat does. The point of it is that by running it there, it makes it more difficult and makes Vanguard a stronger anti-cheat solution. There will always be cheaters, that's correct. Because it is really difficult. If you ever done low-level programming, you understand how complex and difficult it is to just check memory. It's a whole science on itself. I worked as a group teacher at the University of Oslo, teaching a introductory course to this, and it was really fucking difficult. It's a very complex and very, very in-depth, difficult thing where you need like doctorates to even start really understanding it properly. It's very powerful to be a low-level programmer, but it's very, very difficult, and it's such a really fascinating, cool thing. And if you want to check something out, go and check out assembly. And the assembly language is a really, really it's like a super low level. You can write so much stuff in it, but it's really difficult to like wrap your head around it and to use it efficiently. So yes, there will always be cheaters in video games. That sucks. But having an invasive anti-cheat, in my opinion, is better than having a half-ass anti-cheat or no anti-cheat at all. They will always be running on ring 0. And while running on boot, and you can say, oh, I don't want that, now you can just turn it off. Just turn it off, just disable it, then restart your computer when you want to play Valorant. I would say that forcing me to have to restart my computer if I want to play Valorant is worth it if it makes cheating much more difficult, because I don't want cheaters in my game, because they can go and fuck themselves. And the same thing comes if we're talking about stuff like for example, when it comes to free-to-play games, right? Like in Warzone, right? Warzone is ruined by a lot of cheaters, which is an issue. And yes, there will always be cheaters in the game, but we should make it difficult for them. And we should do that they are getting it detected as fast as possible. And there's other ways to combat cheaters, like what some companies doing is sending cease and desist letters and taking them to court for ruining their business. That, I think, is really, really powerful to make cheat making something that can't just be done on a large industry scale. And we always try to, make this, make the integrity of video games as fast as possible. But there will always be losers that sucks at stuff and gets mad or just are trash and has to cheat because they're sad and they're just, I have no clue why they do it. I have no clue what they get out of it, but for some reason they think that it's cool to cheat and they feel powerful when they make the computer play the game for them. I don't understand the logic myself, but there's some idiots that do that. And that's just how it's going to keep going. As long as people are willing to pay for it, there will be smart people making cheats. And that's the same when it comes to IT security. As long as there is a benefit to hack and to leak data and to be able to do attacks onto businesses and companies, there will be a bunch of people doing so illegally. And then there's a whole industry trying to defend from that. But everyone is playing catch up. We're making secure algorithms, we're securing stuff, and then there are attackers that are trying to circumvent that, and then that's just how the game goes. The people find something that is secure, attackers try to break it, and then that gets broken, then they make something new secure, or they find a way to patch those security holes, and so on and so on. Your Wi-Fi signal, for example, is not secure. The Wi-Fi that you're setting on your router that's protected with VPA2 encryption is not secure. It can be taken down by what's known as a crack attack, a key reinstallation attack. You can Google that and look at it. The previous versions of your internet security, like VEP and VPA, which was how we secured Wi-Fi before, is not secure either. Those are old standards, which was secure for a period of time, and then very quickly got security flaws. The new VPA3 encryption that will become is a new VPA3 encryption for your Wi-Fi that will essentially protect your Wi-Fi and make sure that people can't get into your Wi-Fi signal for free, has a bunch of security flaws on it. There's some really great papers on this. I wrote a paper on it at university when I was studying there. And it's fascinating because, for example, you can do a downgrade attack, which is essentially saying, hey, I'm sitting on VPA3, which is secure. And then the attacker can say, oh, but I don't have support for VPA3. Can we use VPA2, which is not secure? And then the router will say, okay, sure. And then it will downgrade to VPA2, and then you can use a key reinstallation attack. It's super fucking funny. It's because it's not as simple as just making something secure. It's not as easy. And the world of IT is by nature unsecure because there's always someone really smart trying to break it. And the same comes for video games and cheats. There are a bunch of anti-cheat makers that are trying to stop cheaters, and then there are a bunch of companies that are creating cheats that are trying to circumvent that. And then it's a game of catch up all the time. And I think that the effort that Riot is putting into their anti-cheat is really, really, really cool. They're not using some pre-made one that everybody knows how to work around with. They made their own, which makes it more difficult. Yes, it is more invasive because it runs on startup. Because remember, and I cannot say this enough, every anti-cheat runs on ring 0, but it runs on startup, and then you can just disable it immediately, and that's fine. And we talked before about the consequences of what would happen if there was a leak or something similar, or if we found out that they were spying on us. I don't see what, and I've said this before, and I'm gonna get so much hate in the comments because I got so much fucking shit in the comments last time for saying this. I don't see what Riot Games would get from gathering data or breaching privacy and doing stuff that would break the GDPR, what they would get from it that would be financially worth it compared to the fines and trust they would be losing. First, the fines for breaking the law and the GDPR and gathering data that you're not allowed to and storing data you're not allowed to. And then, after that, you lose the trust of people. I don't really understand why a company why Riot would do that, what they would benefit from doing it. They make money from skins and making the video games. Why would they be stealing data? And the chance of them sending all this stuff to China and hiding it and gathering all this secret stuff, right, which somebody at fucking Riot in the US would have to do, and then not being a whistleblower, right? When Edward Snowden could whistleblow on the United States government, I find it very unlikely. And there will be, you can talk about security flaws and all this stuff, which I covered in my previous video, but I don't see the benefit. Like, why would Riot do it? Because it seemed like a lot of people thought that Riot was on purpose, and that is why, for example, I trust Riot. I've talked to their employees. Before that, I knew they made League, and it's a big-ass company that I don't see any reason they would benefit from when their whole business model is selling me video games. Why would they benefit from stealing user data? And even so, what would they steal? Would they try to steal my passwords? Why? They're not an indie hacking company. They're not stealing my Facebook account to make scam and phishing attacks. Like, I don't really understand what people are so afraid that they would be going after, and then why. So I find the situation very unlikely, and that's why, in my head, sure, of course I will play Valorant. It's a fun game. I like the game. I trust the company. You could say the same with Blizzard and any other video game company. Yes, I do trust this video game company. I will play their games. I trust Activision enough that I will play Call of Duty. And that's just my point of view on it. Again, you don't have to agree. If you don't trust Riot, don't trust Riot. That's completely up to you. Hopefully, I've given an update on the situation, and hopefully I clarified some of the confusion that was made in the comments on my previous video. Besides that, guys, again, I will link to the original video down in the comments. It is so much more in depth about how the anti-cheat works, more in technical details. I recommend it. It's an amazing video. I'm very, very proud of it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and share this one around, so again, we can hopefully spread out and at least give the education. Again, my personal opinions are my personal opinions, and you guys can disagree or agree with them. I read all the comments. I have read all the comments on my on my 100,000 views video. I read every single comment. There's like over 1,000. And I will read all of these as well, because some people are making some very, very interesting points. So, I'll be going out of your hair. Thank you guys so much for watching. I don't think anybody watched to the end. If you did, write EXE in the comment section, so at least I can heart your comment and know who did, like, the 5 people that decided to watch this. But besides that, please do take care of yourself, stay positive, wear a mask, and take care of yourself. I love you guys very, very much. My name has been Jonal. Please keep the enemy in your crosshair.